Good evening, Arizona. I'm Richard Garcia. Welcome to the Picket Line, the show where we call it like we see it, for the working families, transit riders, and the grassroots middle class who keep this state moving.
And I'm Laura Stiles. Tonight, we're going to deliver a strong condemnation of the continuation of Transdev and Keolis contracts in Arizona public transit, based on the facts of safety failures, worker retaliation, unreliable service, and corporate greed.
And we're calling out the union officers who are acting like a cartel. No real election last cycle, nobody voted for them, nobody ran against them because anyone who exercises Section 7 rights gets fired. These white-collar criminals are part of the problem.
Then we'll do a complete deep dive into all the Arizona 2026 election races, governor, statewide offices, legislature, and more.
Let's get to it. No sugarcoating.
Let's start with public transit. Keolis just secured a 4-year extension with Valley Metro for East Valley fixed route bus service through December 31, 2030. Transdev has also renewed contracts in the West Phoenix area.
This is outrageous corporate welfare. These companies have a track record of high turnover, poor maintenance, safety failures, and retaliation against workers who speak up. Arizona taxpayers are footing the bill for unreliable service while drivers are overworked, underpaid, and punished for raising concerns.
The extensions do include commitments to low or no emission vehicles, but worker conditions must be priority. Keolis runs bus service across multiple U.S. cities, including right here in the East Valley for Valley Metro. Tonight, we're looking at the record, not the press releases, but what workers and government findings actually show. Keolis has won contracts and extensions in places like Phoenix, Boston's commuter rail, Virginia, and elsewhere. But there's a recurring story from the people doing the work. Across the country, Keolis subsidiaries have faced repeated findings from the National Labor Relations Board for violating federal labor law, things like bad faith bargaining, unilateral changes, and discriminating against workers who exercise their rights. Unions have called it a pattern of dozens of meritorious charges. That's not one bad manager. That's a track record. Here in Arizona, drivers in the Valley Metro system, which includes Keolis-operated routes, have gone public with serious concerns. They're reporting equipment problems that make buses feel unsafe, seats so worn out they're causing back injuries, limited brakes, and complaints that aren't being addressed. Some say they're afraid to drive.
That's the part that matters to working people. When drivers are dealing with faulty equipment, seats that slam them into the base of the bus, and not enough brakes, it affects their health, their ability to do the job safely, and the service riders get. These are public jobs funded by taxpayers. Continuing contracts with operators that have this kind of pattern without real accountability hurts the very workers who keep the system running.
When you see the same issues popping up in different cities, it raises questions about whether the current contracting model is delivering for the people on the front lines or just the bottom line. From a business and rider perspective, stable, well-treated workers usually mean better retention, safer operations, and more reliable service.
As transit workers and people who care about good jobs in this industry, we have every right, protected under the law, to speak out about conditions that affect our employment, our safety, and the communities we serve. That's what Section 7 is for: mutual aid and protection, improving working conditions, and making sure public dollars actually support quality service instead of rewarding the same problems over and over.
The agencies awarding these contracts, Valley Metro, cities, transit authorities, have the power to demand better standards on worker safety, retention, and real accountability. Performance shouldn't just be about on-time stats. It has to include how the workforce is treated.
Keolis isn't the only one, but the pattern is clear. If a contractor has repeated labor violations and workers are reporting conditions that make them afraid to do their jobs, why keep handing them extensions without fixing it? We need contracts that put worker voice, safety, and quality service first, not just the cheapest or most convenient operator. Riders and workers both deserve better.
It's about building a transit system that works for everyone involved. That starts with listening to the people who actually operate it every day.
Speak up, organize it, hold the contractors and the agencies accountable. That's how we protect good jobs and safe, reliable transit for Arizona and across the country. Transdev has been operating bus service for the city of Phoenix and Valley Metro for years. Tonight, we're saying what a lot of workers already know. It's time to end these contracts. They've had their chance, and they've blown it repeatedly.
Richard, contractors are supposed to deliver reliable, safe service at a fair cost. When the same company keeps having labor crises, safety complaints, and unfair labor practice findings, the public deserves better options.
Look at the record. Back in 2016, ATU Local 1433 went on strike against Transdev here in Phoenix. 95% voted yes. NLRB issued multiple complaints for unfair labor practices, bathroom breaks, pay, benefits, the basics. They settled only after workers walked off the job.
And it didn't stop there. In 2021, Transdev workers at Valley Metro voted to strike over COVID safety failures. Management allegedly ignoring their own policies and federal guidelines. Workers were put at risk while trying to keep the system running.
Exactly. And this isn't just a Phoenix problem. Across the country, Chula Vista, DART Paratransit, San Diego area, Transdev workers have struck or authorized strikes over unfair labor practices, inhumane conditions, and failure to bargain in good faith. NLRB keeps issuing complaints. The pattern is clear. They treat workers like disposable parts.
When a contractor has this kind of track record on labor relations and safety, it directly affects service quality. Stressed, underprotected workers can't deliver the safe, reliable rides the public deserves, and taxpayers are footing the bill for repeated failures.
The city of Phoenix and Valley Metro need to stop rewarding this behavior. Every time they renew or extend these contracts, they're telling Transdev that treating workers like garbage and cutting corners on safety is acceptable. It's not. It's time to end the relationship and bring in an operator that actually respects the people who do the work.
Advocating for better contracting standards isn't anti-worker or anti-transit, it's pro-accountability. The city has leverage. They should use it to demand real improvements or find partners who won't keep ending up in front of the NLRB or on strike.
Transdev has shown time and again that profit comes before people and before safe service. Workers have filed charges, walked picket lines, and spoken out, and the company keeps getting rewarded with more public money. Enough is enough. The city of Phoenix should terminate or refuse to renew these contracts and choose operators who will actually treat transit workers with respect.
This is about building a transit system that works for riders and the people who operate it. When one contractor keeps failing on the fundamentals, the public conversation has to include ending that relationship and raising standards for everyone who bids on these contracts.
As transit workers and advocates, we have every right to speak out about employers and contractors that make our jobs harder and less safe. Transdev has had more than enough chances. It's time for the city of Phoenix to end these contracts and put workers and riders first. Note on protected concerted activity. This segment uses strong, opinion-based language grounded in public LM2 filings, NLRB activity, member experiences, and patterns of representation. It focuses on union officers' duty to members, financial stewardship of dues, lack of accountability, and elections, and alleged retaliation against members exercising Section 7 rights. This is classic protected speech criticizing union leadership on matters affecting employment conditions and union democracy. Priority 1 should be ending the cycle of corporate contracts that fail the people. And the union offices are a bunch of crooks running a cartel. There was no real election last cycle. Nobody voted for them. Nobody ran against them last cycles. There was no election for office. Nobody runs against them because everyone who exercises Section 7 rights gets fired. These white-collar criminals are in bed with the contractors, and the working class is paying the price. Protected concerted activity is the law, but these officers treat it like a crime. This is why we need real union reform and accountability. We're calling out the people who are supposed to have our backs, the officers of ATU Local 1433. These aren't union leaders. They're running our union like their own personal cash cow, and the members are the ones getting milked dry.
Richard, unions are supposed to be democratic organizations that fight for workers. When leadership stops serving the members and starts serving themselves, that's a problem every transit worker should care about.
Problem? It's a damn betrayal. Look at the LM2 forms they file with the Department of Labor. These officers are paying themselves fat salaries and perks, while the members who actually pay the dues are getting screwed on contracts, grievances, and basic representation. They're treating our hard-earned money like their personal slush fund.
Members deserve transparency. When officers run unopposed election after election because anyone who challenges them gets crushed or fired, that's not democracy. That's a cartel protecting its own power and paychecks.
Exactly. These officers are cowards. They won't stand up to management when it counts. Instead, they turn around and put the boot on the necks of their own members who dare to speak out. You criticize the contract, you file a real grievance, suddenly you're the problem. That's not leadership. That's selling out the working class to keep their own cushy positions.
The pattern is clear. Members who exercise their legal rights under Section 7 get retaliated against. Grievances get buried or sold out. And the officers keep cashing checks while the people doing the actual work, the drivers, the mechanics, struggle with bad contracts and unsafe conditions.
Losers. That's what they are. Cowards and losers who couldn't win a real election if their lives depended on it, so they make sure nobody runs against them. They pay themselves off the backs of hardworking class Americans who bust their asses every day just to keep the buses running. Meanwhile, these officers act like kings while the kingdom burns.
This isn't just bad leadership. It's a failure of the entire model. When union officers prioritize their own compensation and power over fighting for better wages, safer working conditions, and fair grievance handling, they become part of the problem instead of the solution.
Selling out doesn't even cover it. These officers are actively working to keep the boot on the necks of the members. They crush dissent. They bury grievances that might rock the boat with management. They run the local like their own personal cash cow while the people paying the dues get screwed on every contract. That's not a union. That's a protection racket for the officers.
Members have every right to demand better. Public LM2 forms show where the money goes. When officers refuse real elections, refuse transparency, and punish members who speak up, it's time for the rank and file to take their union back.
Damn right. These officers are cowards who fear accountability more than they fear management. They're losers who couldn't lead their way out of a paper bag without the power to silence critics. And they're getting rich doing it, off the backs of hardworking transit workers who just want a fair shot and a union that actually fights for them.
The solution is member action. File the charges, run for office, demand audits, speak out. Because as long as these officers treat the local like their personal ATM and punish anyone who challenges them, the members will keep losing.
This is your union. These officers work for you, or they should. Right now, they're working for themselves. It's time to drag them into the light, hold them accountable, and take back what belongs to the working class.
Now let's turn to the elections. On the Democratic side, incumbent Governor Katie Hobbs is seeking re-election. Progressives are focused on protecting reproductive rights, expanding health care, investing in education, and transit infrastructure. With strong labor and business endorsements, Democrats are banking on high turnout in Maricopa County.
On the Republican side, the primary is a blowout. Andy Biggs is leading the GOP gubernatorial primary with over 66% support, thanks to Trump endorsement and grassroots energy. This is the conservative wave Arizona needs.
The general election will be competitive. Hobbs has incumbency advantage.
My take. Republican strategy is winning because it speaks to working Arizonans. Biggs wins primary easily. General, close, but leaning Republican if worker issues dominate. The Arizona governor's race is heating up faster than a Phoenix summer sidewalk. Katie Hobbs wants 4 more years. Andy Biggs is about to lock up the Republican nomination. Buckle up. This one's going to get spicy.
Spicy? Richard, this is serious. Governor Hobbs has steered us through recovery, protected reproductive rights, and invested in infrastructure. Biggs is running on the same old culture war playbook. Arizona deserves better than another Kari Lake rerun.
Kari Lake rerun. Laura, Biggs is polling at 60% in the GOP primary, lapping the field. He's the only one who actually polls ahead of Hobbs in head-to-heads. Working Arizonans are tired of Hobbs' failures on the border, crime, and inflation. Biggs is the fighter we need.
Fighter? More like divider. Biggs has voted against protecting our democracy, against common-sense gun laws after tragedies, and his America First agenda is really corporations first. Hobbs actually shows up for working families, transit funding, healthcare expansion, protecting our kids from book bans.
Book bans? Come on, Laura. The real crisis is working families can't afford groceries or a decent bus ride without getting harassed. Hobbs investments are just more money to contractors like Keolis while drivers are afraid to drive. Biggs will actually secure the border and bring down costs so middle-class folks can breathe.
Secure the border? Biggs wants to turn Arizona into a police state. And don't get me started on his record of undermining unions and worker protections. Hobbs has stood with labor. Under her, we've seen real progress on wages and infrastructure. Biggs would hand everything to his corporate buddies.
Unions? Laura, the unions under Hobbs are still weak as hell. Look at what happened with my old outfit and these contractors. Biggs at least won't pretend to care while letting the same crooks run the show. Working people want results, not photo ops with union bosses who sold us out.
Results? Hobbs delivered federal money for transit and chips plants. Biggs' idea of results is culture war nonsense that does nothing for your paycheck or your commute. And his anti-choice extremism? That's not what Arizona women voted for in 2022.
Extremism? The real extremism is letting our cities turn into open-air drug markets and our buses into rolling danger zones while Hobbs virtue signals. Biggs will actually govern for the forgotten middle class, the ones who pay taxes and just want safe streets and a decent wage. Polls don't lie. He's the one who can beat her.
Beat her? Hobbs has already beaten the worst the GOP threw at her. Biggs is just the latest in a long line of extremists who think shouting about the border wins elections. Arizona is changing. Young people, Latinos, suburban women, they're not buying the same old fear-mongering.
Fear-mongering? Try reality. Working families are struggling. Hobbs' big wins are photo ops while contractors get rich and drivers get screwed. Biggs may not be perfect on unions, but at least he won't sell out the border and the economy for progressive brownie points. This race is about who actually delivers for the middle class.
Delivers? Biggs delivers division. Hobbs delivers results, even if they're messy. And let's be honest, Richard, if Biggs wins, your transit worker friends might get more freedom to work 80-hour weeks with no protections, while the rich get tax cuts. That's not the middle class winning.
Tax cuts for the rich? Laura, the rich are doing fine under Hobbs. It's the working stiffs getting crushed. Biggs gets it. Secure the border, cut the waste, let people keep more of what they earn. And on unions? Real unions, not the sellout kind that protect the bosses. That's the future.
Real unions? Under Biggs, we'd have right to work on steroids and contractors like Keolis running wild with even less oversight. Hobbs at least tries to balance growth with worker protections. This isn't 2016 anymore. Arizona isn't buying the same angry white guy routine.
Angry white guy? Try angry working guy who's tired of being told his concerns don't matter. Polls show this race is a toss-up or leaning Biggs if turnout is right. Hobbs' coalition is cracking. The middle class wants change, not more of the same failed experiments. And for the record, I'm not white. My last name is Garcia. And secondly, worker protections and ADOT regulations are worked out on a federal level, and right to work isn't the problem. The problem is white-collar crime being swept under the rug.
Failed experiments? Try progress. Hobbs expanded healthcare, fought for transit dollars, and stood up to the worst of Trumpism. Biggs would drag us backward on every front that matters to working families. Arizona women and young voters won't let it happen.
Backward? Forward is secure communities, good jobs, and leaders who don't lecture you while your paycheck shrinks. Biggs wins this if he stays focused on the kitchen table issues. Hobbs is running on vibes. Vibes don't pay the rent or fix the buses.
Vibes? Try values. Hobbs represents the Arizona that actually won in 2022. Diverse, forward-looking, and tired of division. Biggs is betting on anger. I bet on hope and results.
We'll see in November. One thing's for sure, this race is going to be nasty, and the middle class is the prize. Stay tuned, Arizona. This is the picket line, and we're not backing down from the fight.